I did want to ask you about some of the content that you have created in the past, starting with your
Mhm.
YouTube channel. I'm not trying to call you out with this, but you put out a video 5 months ago where your goal is to upload
I
weekly. And like
know.
you've only posted once. Is that just like a matter of being so busy? Like what kind of happened
Yeah,
with your YouTube?
absolutely. I mean, it's something where being in front of the camera is an entirely different ballpark in terms of being behind the camera. So like coming into Vayner, I was like, I'm totally gonna be able to post all the time. I'm gonna do it right. I know people have come before me and said they're gonna do their own content as well as like this position. And I was so wrong. But I mean, it's something I love and I definitely want to make more content. It's just at this point, it's figuring out, a healthy work-life balance, let alone like adding the added stress of like creating content on top of it.
So what is like your ideal scenario for your YouTube channel when you're creating content
Yeah.
regularly?
One more time, explain that a little bit more to me. Do you mean like long-term goals or like every time I sit down to make a video?
Well, if you were in a scenario where you could be uploading weekly, what would your kind of YouTube strategy be? What kind of content would you be making? Would it be once a week, twice a week? Like what would your overall YouTube look like if you were posting weekly? If
Yeah,
that
I
makes
mean,
sense.
absolutely. In an ideal world, I would post a couple times a week. Obviously, I think that that's pretty much the normal for someone that is doing like an active growth strategy on YouTube is to post multiple times a week. Have a really set strategy of when you're posting, how you're communicating that to your audience, creating content that is both equally creatively fulfilling for you and what your audience wants, which I think is kind of the most difficult balancing act. Because it's very easy to be like, I'm going to just make tutorials and value content that people can look up and search, but that may not always convert that viewer into a subscriber or an active viewer over a long term. And so it's interesting to kind of see how people are handling that and that play. Um, but yeah, I think I would probably I like creating content that is very almost talking head, lets me sit down and explain ideas more than having like active in the field. Although I think that's shifting a little bit. That's always been like my go to. And now working where I work and getting that experience, I would want to really kind of use that as a playground to build my skills even further and be like,
Okay.
oh, okay, maybe I want to make something that's totally right field this week. But because I'm not relying on that as like a career path or a long term, I'm not paying my bills with that. Like I can play with it a little bit more.
Mhm. And when it comes to like building an account, like you said, like you have to make sure it's equally what you want to be creating and what your audience wants to watch. And I was actually listening to, funny that you say tutorials, because I was listening to Babbitt on the Chase Jarvis
Mhm.
podcast today. And he was talking about how like he could be making tutorials if he really wanted to blow up his YouTube channel, but he doesn't really want to be making tutorials.
Exactly. And that was a really great podcast, by the way. And I think he has such a unique style that like he could absolutely make tutorials in that style and pop off. But if you're not doing something you love, there like you can equally be as unhappy in a cubicle as you can be making content and being an influencer. So it's really about finding what sets you on fire and makes you happy. Otherwise, like, why are you doing it? It's so
Mhm.
much easier to go get a job at a bank and do what you want on the weekends than it is to like actively put all that pressure on your shoulders if you're not happy doing it.
Yeah, that's exactly it. But when it comes to growing a YouTube channel, I noticed that you are certified by Google in
Mm-hmm.
YouTube channel growth. So, like, what kind of all goes into getting that certification?
Yeah, so that certification, there's like 3 tiers through YouTube. And I think a lot of people don't know, but it's free to sign up. And it's literally you just go through and you read the most up to date information through Google. Granted, they don't give you a lot of like insight on the algorithm or anything like that, but they say like these are the steps to really assist someone in growing their channel. And then you take a quiz at the end, fill it out. It's not as hard as it looks, actually. It takes some time, but it's definitely worth it, and it's a good insight in terms of like if you actively want to pursue using YouTube in any capacity, like why wouldn't you want to learn from the creators of it or
Mhm.
the runner?
Yeah. How much time did that take you to do?
So I did it very casually over probably a week. More than anything, I'm an extremely slow reader. I'm a very much a visual kid, so reading is takes some time for me, and it is a lot of reading and understanding and making sure that you comprehend that. But yeah, probably about a week. It didn't take very long.
Okay, that's not too bad at all, really, at the end of
No,
the day.
yeah.
Um, but for anybody that's kind of feeling a little lazy and doesn't want to put in a full week, do you have any like quick tips when it comes to YouTube channel growth?
I mean, honestly, get your feet wet. Start making stuff. Like having a certification is great when it comes to working in social media, but nothing's going to help you more than actually having experience. Like I understand things about the back end of YouTube because I was uploading videos. I may not have been the most consistent. I may not have, had 10 million subscribers, but you learn so much by actively doing, putting those videos up, creating those edits, learning like, oh, I need to subtitle this, or what's my thumbnail click through rate. All of those things come from physically doing the reps.
And I think an important part too is like once you do put in those reps and you are uploading, it's taking the time to go back and see what's working
Mm-hmm.
and what isn't.
Absolutely. Yeah. Reflecting on what you've done and kind of strategizing your next step is huge and probably the hardest part.